In this video, we're going to go over how to create corridors in Civil 3D. Now, corridors are essentially a 3D representation of everything that we've done so far. So it takes the alignments and the profiles and the assemblies and it puts them all together. And I will go over how it does that here in a second once I create a new file copy. I guess we're on EF, right? Guys, I know my alphabet, trust me. I'm gonna give that a little bit better of a name. Corridor creation. Okay. Now that we're here, the way the corridor tools works, also in the home tab under the design tools, is it takes these sections that we made, and you can take this section and assign it to an alignment. When you assign it to an alignment, you choose an interval that the section is repeated on. For example, I could say every 20 feet on the alignment, it creates a section. And what that basically means is it takes the center line of your section, for example, right here, right? And it creates the geometry of the section at that specific point in the alignment. So given the horizontal and vertical data, and that's determined by the alignment and the profile that we made. Then what you can do is you can actually assign that increment based on straight segments and curves. You generally want a higher resolution on curves, so you reduce the increment to like half a foot, or for example. That way you don't get a bunch of straight lines approximating a curve. You want it to be pretty close. And once it does that, it connects all of the sections that it drew using similar lines. So similar lines are kind of built into the sections automatically. For example, every point you see here, anything with a circle or an X, those are the similar lines. So it connects, for example, if you have a section at 0 on your alignment, and then you have another section at 20, it'll create a straight line between similar points. So like the bottom of the pavement here with the bottom of the pavement, the edge of the sidewalk with the edge of the sidewalk, the corner of the gutter with the corner of the gutter, and so on and so forth. So the more sections you have, so the less distance you have between them, the higher your resolution and your level of detail will be. But obviously that increases the computation power required from your computer and through Civil 3D. So that's what a corridor is, and we're basically going to create one giant corridor object with all of our alignments here, and it's going to create this 3D model of our roadway sections. Sorry. So going to the corridor tool, we can create our corridor here. You can see this interface. If you're using Civil 3D like 24 or 25, this might look a little bit different, but you can still assign all of the same things that I do here. First thing we're going to do is name the corridor. I'm just going to call this road corridor. Very descriptive. And here we can now insert all the alignments and profiles and assemblies that we want. I'm going to keep the style as basic and the code set to all codes with hatching. And the hatching will basically just fill in the object on our plan view right here. It'll fill in different objects so you can get a better idea of what things are. Now from here, I need to add our alignments. So I'm going to select Alderman Road and McCormick and Treehouse, right? Now we need to assign profiles for each road. So you can see that it automatically assigns profiles. Just check these and make sure that it's assigning the profile that is the one we made and not just the surface profile that Civil 3D made for us. So make sure it's your road profiles. Now we can apply our assemblies. So for Treehouse Drive, we can put in Treehouse Drive. And the other two for now, which are going to use our basic sidewalk road, we will go back and fill in using the retaining wall and the right sidewalk after we've created our corridor. So yours shall look exactly like mine, unless you named things differently, but all the actual objects should be the same. Now in our target surface, if you remember talking about the daylight objects, those target a surface, and it automatically does a cut and a fill, a cut or a fill to match that surface elevation. We're going to select our surrounding OHEL surface. And from here, we can hit OK. And you can see our corridor is here. This is the parameter section. We're going to come back here in a couple of minutes, but you can see the same things we applied in the previous screen show up here in the horizontal, vertical, and assembly. You can see the name of our different alignments and sections on the left, the stationing in the middle, and then the frequency is, as I mentioned, kind of where you can set how often it's drawing those sections. So smaller frequency or a shorter frequency means more sections, more detail, but also more computing power required. We're just going to hit apply and then rebuild. It's going to build. You're probably going to get a bunch of errors. That is totally okay. We're going to deal with a lot of these in a second. So just exit out of this, or you might need to hit OK first and then exit out of this. And now you can see this corridor model. So you can see it's created a roadways based on the sections we made and then assigned here. And you can see that it went automatically along our alignments and made them everywhere. So now if I click on just click anywhere on the corridor, you can also see those different kind of objects showing up. So this is like the grass, this is gravel, the roadway itself, and then some of the cut and the fill here represented in green and red. If I click on the corridor, I can open this up in the model viewer and show you what this looks like. So if you look here, you can see this looks like a roadway, right? You have our 2 lanes that we made that are each 13 feet. You have the curb and the gutter, the sidewalk, and then the daylight. So the daylight goes to the existing surface. If I come back here and I actually add the surface as well, you can kind of see what I mean by the daylight. So it's hard to tell, but the daylight goes until it matches the surface elevation. So you can see here, for example, the daylight extends until it hits the surface here. Anywhere where you can't see the daylighting means the surface is higher than the daylight, so the daylight's actually like below it, almost. I don't know if that makes sense. You can also see though a couple of issues here. For one, we have whatever's happening here. Not really sure. We have our intersections don't look right, so we need to fix that. We also need to go through and change some of the sections that are being applied here and fix a couple of other things. But other than that, it looks pretty good to me. And hopefully you can start to see the power of Civil 3D, especially doing this compared to imagine having to model this all by hand and figure out every elevation for every sidewalk, every gutter, every daylight. Like, it is a lot of work to do manually. So Civil 3D and other softwares make this way faster. In the next video, we're going to go through and change some of the parameters here and generally clean up our styling of our corridor.